She walked into the CBS Morning studio on a Tuesday morning looking composed, polished, every hair in place. The desk was familiar. The lights were the same. But something in the air had shifted. Colleagues noticed it. Producers noticed it. And if you were watching closely at home, you probably noticed it too. Gayle King, the woman who has anchored your mornings for over a decade, who has interviewed presidents, broken news, and laughed with Oprah on national television, looked different. Not just physically. Something behind those eyes had changed. Something she wasn't ready to say out loud. And the internet noticed. Search trends in late 2025 exploded with questions. Is Gayle King sick? Why does Gayle King look different? Is Gayle King leaving CBS? Millions of people were asking the same thing, and nobody was getting a straight answer. Not from CBS. Not from Gayle. And that silence, for a woman who has built her entire career on asking hard questions, said more than any statement ever could. What is really going on with Gayle King? And why, after more than 13 years, does it feel like we are watching the final chapter? Let's start with what everyone saw first. The weight loss. Over the course of 2024 and into 2025, Gayle King shed somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds. She went from 172 pounds down to around 142. According to reports tracking her journey. The transformation was undeniable. She looked radiant at the American Ballet Theater Gala. She turned heads at red carpets. And when she appeared on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition cover at age 69, the world stopped scrolling. She laughed about it on air. She credited her 5 to 6 days a week workout routine. 30 minutes of cardio. 30 minutes of strength training. She talked about Weight Watchers, about cutting processed foods, about finally learning to manage stress through mindfulness and meditation. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it was never about the number on the scale. It was about feeling strong, about feeling like herself again. But here's what she didn't say. She didn't say what triggered it. She didn't explain why this transformation felt so different from all the others. Because Gayle King had been on this road before. She had lost weight in 2016, gained some back, tried different programs over the years. So, why did 2024 feel like a turning point? Why did the urgency feel different? Because something happened that changed everything. And it wasn't a diet plan. People close to Gayle King have quietly spoken about a shift in her health priorities that began not with a decision to lose weight, but with a medical reality she could no longer ignore. Reports from sources familiar with her situation described a health scare that forced her to rethink her lifestyle completely. Her schedule, her diet, her stress levels, her future. A wake-up call that arrived not on a red carpet, but in a doctor's office. Now, Gayle has never publicly named a specific diagnosis. She has kept that part of her story private, and that is absolutely her right. But what she has shared in pieces, her fatigue, her knee surgery in 2021, the emotional weight of stress eating, her acknowledgement that something had to change, paints a picture of a woman who had received news serious enough to force real action. She once said in an interview that she was a stress eater, that when she got overwhelmed, she turned to food, and that for years, the demands of daily live television, the pressure of ratings, the impossible schedule of waking before the sun and performing for millions, all of it had weighed on her in ways that weren't just emotional. They were physical. She also confessed to feeling constantly fatigued, to struggling to keep up with the energy demands of a career that never slowed down. And then came the knee surgery. Then came the deeper commitment to working out. Then came the dramatic physical transformation that had everyone whispering. The timing was not random. Something had happened. Something had shifted. And whether it was a diagnosis of a chronic condition, a cardiovascular warning, or something else entirely, the people closest to her confirmed that Gayle King was not just getting healthy because she wanted a magazine cover. She was getting healthy because she had been told she needed to. While Gayle was quietly navigating her health, the network she had called home for 13 years was falling apart around her. In August 2025, Paramount merged with Skydance Media. Almost immediately, over 1,000 CBS employees lost their jobs. The entire culture of the newsroom shifted overnight. Longtime anchors were let go. Budgets were slashed. And a new editor-in-chief named Bari Weiss arrived with a mandate to reinvent CBS News from the ground up, that CBS Mornings was already struggling. The show was averaging just 1.78 million viewers, a distant third behind NBC's Today and ABC's Good Morning America. Ad revenue fell from $131.8 million in 2024 to roughly $119.2 million in 2025. The numbers were telling Astery that no amount of Gayle King charm could fully reverse. And then, in October 2025, Variety dropped a bombshell. According to their reporting, Gayle King was expected to leave CBS Mornings when her contract expired in May 2026. CBS denied it immediately. Gayle herself addressed the rumors with characteristic bluntness, telling TMZ outside the CBS building, "All I've been told by everybody in this building is that they want me here." But behind the scenes, insiders were saying something very different. Sources described a tense internal debate. New leadership reportedly felt that Gayle was not fully utilizing her extraordinary network of connections, that having someone with access to Beyoncé, Kris Jenner, Jeff Bezos, and Meghan Markle hosting a third-place morning show was a waste of potential. One senior staffer was quoted as saying the new regime believed Gayle was bringing none of those relationships back to the audience. Gayle, for her part, was said to be resistant but listening. Meanwhile, she was also watching colleagues disappear. John Dickerson announced his departure. Maurice Dubois announced he was leaving CBS Evening News. Tony Dokoupil shifted to nights. The newsroom that had felt like a family was becoming unrecognizable, and Gayle King, the woman who had anchored through the Charlie Rose scandal, through COVID, through a global conversation about race and justice, was watching the institution she helped build transform into something she barely recognized. This is the part of the story that most people miss when they focus on the ratings and the contract drama. Gayle King has never just been a journalist. She has been, for millions of viewers, a steady presence in the most unstable moments of their lives. She was there during the pandemic. She was there after Kobe Bryant died, asking the difficult questions that cost her dearly in public opinion, but that she stood behind. She was there covering elections, tragedies, cultural reckonings. And through all of it, she smiled. She showed up. She performed. But in May 2022, Gayle wrote something that stopped a lot of people in their tracks. A personal piece about mental health. About how beautiful faces don't always mean someone is okay. About how people can be suffering even when they're smiling. About how we are all, as she put it, just one bad moment away from breaking. For someone who smiles for a living, that was a profound thing to put into words. And it made people wonder, was she speaking about others? Or was she also speaking about herself? Because the version of Gayle King that emerged in 2025 seemed more reflective than before, more measured on air. She began speaking about the importance of being present, not just for her audience, but for her family. Her son William had just married Elise Smith in a beautiful ceremony held at Oprah Winfrey's home. The vows her son spoke, that Heckna the man he was, but with his wife he knew the man he wanted to be, moved Gaylito tears on national television. She was becoming a grandmother. She had floated to the edge of space on the Blue Origin all-female mission in April 2025. She was 70 years old and, standing at a crossroads, the daily grind was no longer just demanding. It was costing her something she couldn't get back. Time, health, peace. In December 2025, the reports became more specific. According to News Nation, the plan was quietly taking shape. Gayle King would step away from the CBS Mornings anchor desk when her contract ended in May 2026. Not leave CBS entirely, but transition. Move into special projects, big interviews, primetime specials. The model that Diane Sawyer had done at ABC. The model that Hoda Kotb had followed at NBC. Was, according to sources, a mutual decision. A graceful exit, not a forced one. And then, just days ago, on March 4, 2026, the story took one more turn. Gayle King announced she had signed a new deal with CBS News. She would be staying. In a statement that sounded very much like Gayle, sharp, self-assured, just a little bit dramatic, she said, "Rumors of my demise were inaccurate and greatly exaggerated. At CBS News is my longtime home, and I am committed to our mission." CBS celebrated. Bari Weiss posted about it. The network exhaled. But here's the thing. Read that statement again. Read it carefully. She said she is staying at CBS News. She said she is excited about continuing at CBS Mornings, for now. She said she is open to new adventures. She said it took a minute to get there. That is not the language of someone who was never considering leaving. That is the language of someone who sat at that crossroads for a long time, weighed everything. Her health, her family, her legacy, the chaos at CBS, and finally decided on her own terms that she wasn't done yet. She didn't come back because CBS needed her. She came back because she chose to. And that distinction matters. Where does that leave us? What is the real story of Gayle King in 2026? It is the story of a 70-year-old woman who faced a health scare serious enough to change the way she lived, who watched her professional home get turned upside down, who floated in space and watched her son get married and asked herself, quietly, what she actually wanted the next chapter to look like. It is the story of someone who, for once, had to stop asking questions for everyone else and answer one for herself. She chose to stay. But the version of Gayle King who signed that new deal is not the same woman who first sat behind that desk in 2012. She has been through something physical, something emotional, something she has not fully shared with the public and may never fully share. And maybe that is okay. Maybe not every story needs to be told on live television. Maybe most powerful thing Gayle King has done in her entire career is prove that you can go through something enormous, a diagnosis, a professional crisis, a personal reinvention, and come out the other side still standing, still smiling, still choosing to show up, whatever that diagnosis was. Whatever those doctors told her. Whatever she was sitting with in that quiet moment before she walked back out onto that set. She decided it wasn't going to be the ending. And knowing Gayle King, it probably won't be.